Travel is more than just ticking off countries. It's about the people, the culture, the food, the moments. I'm Pippa Hudson, and on Wonder the World, I invite you to join me every week as we explore destinations both near and far, with the help of fellow adventurers who share their unique travel stories. Listen to my podcast wherever you get them. Hey everyone, it's me, Cindy Paluta. So at the moment we have a project in the works for a podcast series, very exciting, called The Teen Junction, which will be a podcast series for parents of adolescents, tackling the hard day-to-day challenges we're experiencing. Every episode will be joined by different experts to help us navigate through the various topics. The Teen Junction is a project that's extremely close to my heart, and it is so close to launching. But for now, there's a very important topic that I simply couldn't ignore. So we have this quick pop-up episode for you. Matric results. Firstly, congratulations to the class of 2024 and to those that did exceptionally well and whose futures are bright and on track. But today we're going to focus on those for whom things have not gone according to plan, and their families and those around them. There's a lot of uncertainty, there's panic, there's despair in the air. So I have two great experts today to take us through some concerns parents and learners have or don't have about the upcoming year. So on the line, I've got Dr Mothomang Diaho, one of the founding members of Teach South Africa, who has a special interest in mental health and lifestyle medicine. And we're also joined by Ari Katz, who is the CEO of Boston City Campus. Thank you so much, the both of you, for giving us your time today.
Thanks, Cindy. Hope you're well.
Fantastic. I'm always well. Depends which day you catch me on and if I have or haven't had a liter of coffee. Right, Ari, I'm going to come to you first. The time of year is extremely exciting for some, right? But completely disheartening for others who may have not got their first choice of university. It kind of feels like the end of the road for them if I don't get a university entrance or even miss out on doing a course that I dreamed of doing just by one app's point. So can learners, one of the first questions I wanted to come to is it the end of the road? And do you know if learners can use their grade 11 marks to apply then if their grade 12 wasn't so great?
Hi, Cindy. So first up, it's definitely not the end of the road. And I think it's very important for matriculants to realize that a matric certificate is what I call a multi-level passport. Depending on what that matric certificate says, it allows you access to different pathways. So, for example, you might have just got an NSC, or you might have got a higher certificate entry, or a diploma entry, or a bachelor's entry. But if you never got the results that you're looking for, so for example, if you were looking to get a bachelor's entry, but you got a higher certificate entry, it's not the end of the world, because you can do a one-year higher certificate and use that higher certificate to then gain access to a bachelor's. So there are many different routes to the pathway that you wanted to take, which you might not have got it to start with. The key, I always say to matriculants, is it's very important to do extensive career exploration to find out what are the options out there and how do I navigate them, because we live in a world with lots and lots of opportunities, particularly because of the internet, the digital age, and the changes of careers that have happened over the last, say, 10 years. Now, if you think about it, 10 years ago, companies like Take-A-Lot and et cetera didn't even exist. So lots of career opportunities have opened up, and there are many different avenues depending on what your matric certificate says, and it's critical to do career exploration. So, and we can talk a little bit about what that means.
Okay, so for those that possibly missed out on the degree that they wanted and are looking to perhaps remark or rewrite, you're saying the time that you have, because I think the rewrites happen in about June, the time that you've got off, while you do the rewrite, use it wisely to perhaps get into a higher certificate of sorts that could help you get to the degree you want.
So there are many different options. One is to just choose individual subjects that you might want to rewrite. You don't necessarily need to rewrite your entire matric. You need to look at it and see what are the critical subjects that I need to rewrite and why. What degree am I looking to get into, etc. That's one option. The other option is to use, as I said before, a higher certificate, but then you would have to see whether that gets you entry into the desired career that you choose, or alternatively to use the time whilst you studying for, let's say, just to rewrite math or whatever the subject is, to actually do a whole bunch of short courses that could also set you up for your career. So it's really a function of finding out what is available out there. And in that career exploration, not only to find out how do I get in, how long does the course take, what are the requirements, but also to find out what are the related careers. And the reason that I mention that is because we know so many matriculants start off with aspirations of choosing a specific path, and once they're in the game, they change their minds. And a very common example of that is, for example, students who might want to study, let's say, psychology or media even. And once they're in the game, they decide, actually, this is not really for me. Now, in order to make sure you haven't wasted the time, it's really important to structure your qualification such that you can change to another career without losing time. So if you were doing psychology, can I switch to industrial psychology or teaching or even journalism, etc.? You know, so you need to look at what are the careers, what are the entry requirements, how long does it take, and what are the related careers in that area.
So basically use technology to your advantage. But for to Dr. Diaho, this question is then for you. Ari makes some great points. I love it. It's not the end of the road. We must use, ask people around us for help, use whatever we can to try and, move forward, fall forward. But when you're in that moment, Dr. Diaho, where you've done 12 years of hard work as a parent, you've nurtured your child to get him to this point where Matric is where you feel it's the be all and end all, and then you let your friends down, you let your family down. How do we, for a lot of learners, their family relies on them as well as like a lot to get this Matric. How do we get them forward to realize this is not the end when you've got a child that's just now fallen into a bad headspace?
Thank you. I think Ari's points are so enlightening, because we are sitting right in the middle of all of this that's coming up in all the schools where our teachers are. So I would like to couch this talk into how we advise to build resistance, really, because failing Matric or dropping out or not getting what it is that you wanted to is not going to be the first drop in life. So 3 things. Stuff happens. And as we talk now in January, is to all the people that are writing Matric and all that are everybody.
Dr. Diaho, can I ask you to move around? I lost you a little bit there after stuff happens. If you could pick up from where you said, so if I could just say these 3 things, if you could pick it up from there, your line was a little bit bad.
Yeah. It is to say, Cindy, sorry, somebody decided to start a grass cutting exercise. So this is exactly what we mean. Stuff happens. When we're having an interview on radio, it doesn't go according to plan. I might not get my Matric. We might not get into psychology. We might not get into engineering. What happens when you have that type of philosophy? When it happens, you're almost trained to expect that it will happen. So your coping skills are a little bit more prepared. Then you look at options. The second thing is practicing gratitude. And this is not flimsy stuff, listeners. It's saying, accepting what has just happened. I didn't go into this what I chose. You sit down and said, I actually have options. In fact, it might be a moment and said, even though I wanted to go into psychology, actually, engineering is an option, because then it gives you another opportunity to sit down and choose a different option. So practice gratitude. Accept that this has happened, but it is not the end of the day. I know that all of us are saying this. The third thing in coping is choices that will support that decision that you're just about to make. If you're going to be looking at Instagram or the socials and looking at where your friends are and how lovely and what lovely university they're going to, it's not going to help and assist you in sticking to what it is that you've just rediscovered to plan the next life you're going to go into. So I think it is very important for these 3 things to happen in coping and building resilience in dealing with adversity, which is part of life. Stuff happens. Accept, so practice gratitude, and then the choices you're going to make every single minute to support the next choice you make is important. Is this helping me, or is this not going to help me?
I absolutely love that, Dr. Diaho. And I see so many parents on Facebook groups saying, when my child finished Matric, they didn't get the option that they wanted and they had to settle for the second option. And it actually has turned out to be better than what they expected.
Exactly. Often it happens for a reason. It's happened to all of us.
Yeah.
We chose architecture and we ended up in medicine. There's so many stories you'll hear from people. It might just be that point and say, you know what, maybe this was not meant for me. And then this other part has just happened because I need it or I want it. Right. And I think as parents, we need to...
Sorry, your line's breaking up a little bit at the end there. You said as parents?
As parents ourselves, we need to practice that so that we're best able to support our children.
Yeah, we can't be seen to be falling apart, right?
No. And also accept, go through the same process. That happens. Your child didn't get into UCT. Gratitude. They are actually still alive. There's so many opportunities your child currently has to choose from, as Ari said. And then 3, everything you're going to do as a parent, as a teacher to support this child has to be positive choices that will keep this child on the right track to support that choice they just made.
So, Ari, then let me throw this back to you, because as parents, sometimes we want to give our children the best support, as Dr. Diaho says. We want to remain upbeat, etc. But financially, we might not be able to afford the second option. Are there budget courses that learners could be doing while they wait for their marks, or, for that they could be doing for this year? Can they study one degree at one institution and transfer the following year?
So there are a couple of things to bear in mind. One is the accreditation system in South Africa. We should just talk a little bit around that so that you understand that mobility between institutions. And the other thing we should probably talk about on a practical level, if you speak about budget considerations, is different modes of learning that are available to students and types of institutions. So let's go back to number 1, which is the accreditation system in South Africa. So in South Africa, we have both public and private higher education institutions, but we are blessed with the fact that we have a very robust accreditation system in South Africa, which is a unitary accreditation system in South Africa, which is a unitary accreditation system, which means that all institutions, all higher ed accredited institutions in South Africa are accredited by the Council for Higher Institutions, the Council for Higher Education, and would be registered with the DHET. So if a parent is looking to find out if the institution is accredited and credible, they should, step number 1, go to the DHET website and find the institution to see that it's registered over there. That's absolutely critical. I'm sure you'll recall that last year we had some very high-profile discussions and students who had been left stranded by institutions that were suddenly deregistered during the course of the year.
Yes.
I think step 1 is for the parent to establish, am I dealing with a credible, accredited institution? And the first step there is to check the DHET register. That's number 1. And then I would make other inquiries like, do they have friends or other people who've been at the institution, and what are their experiences like? So that's sort of number 1 in terms of local accreditation. If the parent is interested in international accreditation, so for example, we have accreditation in the US as well, it would be through an accreditor in the US, and you would go to that accreditor's website and see whether the institution is actually registered with that institution, with that accreditor. So that's number 1. Am I dealing with an accredited institution? The next step is really to say, what is the mode of learning that interests me? And that might also affect your budget. So in other words, do I want to go to full-time lectures? Do I want to go to part-time? Do I want to study online? Do I want to study 1 subject, 5 subjects, etc.? And again, we live in 2025 where there are so many options available, from pure online to hybrid methodologies, etc. And it's really important for the parent to do an investigation as to what does this actually mean. So when we talk about online, what does online actually mean? Am I going to get lectures? Am I going to get support? Does it include textbooks? How do I do my assignments? Is there a support center where I can go, etc.? I caution parents to not just look at the cheapest online version, because support is absolutely critical in ensuring that your child is actually going to succeed and pass and get a qualification that's credible and get them a job out there. So it's really important to do homework and not to dive in. So it's one thing getting the matric. It's another thing then looking at what are my options and really exploring them holistically before you just commit to the first option that you see.
I love that, Ari. And just Dr. Diaho, back to you. The mental aspect of that is so important. Like you said, practice gratitude, look at your choices. You know, stuff happens, try, move forward.
Yeah. And I think the final thing for me, this technical info is so valuable, because one of the things that actually flips people and get them into a panic is lack of access to this type of information. So thank you very much. The second thing I wanted to say is that I think we need to learn to ask for help. There's a lot of help and assistance from your own collegial learners, the other learners, asking what it is that they have done and what they will do. But I think the school system has a lot of teachers that have been there a long time, that know the system and how they work. Access them and access them early so that you can make choices that support you. In most of the schools that have resource challenged, I think the schooling system and the individuals in the system, the teachers, access them, ask for help, and they will be able to assist and get access to all of the things that Ari is talking about. So I think it's opening up to support your mental wellness, is really making yourself available. Doing those things about, now that I'm here, I cannot change it, but what do I do moving forward? And then being consistent about supporting that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just wanted to add on there from my own personal experience, right? I mean, I matriculated many years ago. We don't need to make the year public.
Don't tell.
But I'm parents of immigrants. They came to South Africa. Neither of them had finished school. Neither of them had been to university. It was a completely foreign land for them. I personally myself didn't get a varsity entrance in Matric, but still went on to do a Bachelor of Arts in Communications. It's not the end of the world, Dr. Diaho. What you're saying there is so right. These days, children can look online. They can look for help, just making sure, as Ari said, that it is an accredited facility. So, Dr. Diaho, I do agree with you. You know, reach out to the teachers. If they don't know, go to the universities or the colleges and speak to somebody there, because definitely these days, there's a lot more help around than when we finished school.
Yeah, excellent.
You know, I love the point that Dr. Diaho made about asking for help. And if I can just give on a practical level, most institutions, I know, for example, we at Boston have a tool called Career Compass, but I'm sure every institution has similar kind of tools. And those tools are generally available freely available to learners. Whether you study at this institution or not, you're welcome to go to any of those institutions. Boston, you can go to any one of our 47 centers, log on and do career exploration and find out about the multitude of careers that, believe me, you hadn't even thought of before because of the new world that we're living in. And so the point that Dr. Diaho, I love the point about accepting where you are, being positive, and asking for help, because one of the things I think that, and I'm sure Dr. Diaho would agree with me, that if I gain knowledge and I understand more about the career I'm getting into, I will feel a lot more positive and a lot more relaxed about what I'm about to embark on, which will obviously add to my success. But there is so much help out there. So on a practical level, talk to your career guidance teachers, the LO teachers at your school. Talk to the colleges and find out what career exploration tools they have available, and spend time online actually researching it. Find out what does if I study media, what's involved in media? Is it only about radio? Is there also video and TV and animation and graphics and journal and PR and marketing, all related? And how do I migrate from one to another? So there's lots of career exploration. I'm begging matriculants to do that, because we see such a high level of students who start off in a particular career because they just don't know enough about it. And when they're in it, they find out, whoa, this is not for me. So even if I look at myself, I went and became a chartered accountant, became a partner in one of the biggest firms, and then realized this is really not for me. And then I went and did computers and then found out, actually, this is really not for me, and landed up in education. Do their career exploration.
Yeah, Dr. Diaho, I think Ari touches on a very good point then. Maybe you could speak about this before we wrap up, is just, when you finish school, you're not actually finished with that school. You could have done your Matric and you can still go back to your LO teacher and say, hey, please help me. I didn't get the Matric I wanted. What can you do for me?
Yeah, this is such an important thing. And I think there's so many books about how many people have changed career. At Matric, you are nowhere near knowing for sure what it is that you'll end up being. And if you think you're old, I'm grandmother age. And I know during my time, there were like 4 careers to choose from.
Yeah.
Medicine, teaching, nursing, etc. And you walk out and you meet the world and you realize there's just so much. And that was then. What Ari is talking about now, it is frightening with AI and all the opportunity. It's actually just mind-boggling what's out there. Give yourself a chance to just step back, accept what's happened, and actually say, maybe this was an opportunity for me to discover this new other career. AI, the arrival of AI is just throwing out so many other opportunities in career paths so that we don't panic and we accept what it is. So I think for all of us, we know choices were made because that was what was available at the time, and equally today the same applies. So I think it is important to keep telling the stories as well.
Thank you both so much for joining me this morning on such short notice. I really do appreciate your time and your invaluable guidance and insight into this.
Thank you for inviting us. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy, and best of luck to all the matriculants who are making these difficult decisions. But reach out.
Thank you very, very much. And just as Ari said there, remember, wherever you are listening to this podcast, reach out. There's always somebody that can help you. They'll be surprised how many people around you do have the answers or solutions. And for the others, continue listening and, stay logged into Prime Media Plus, because we will be bringing you more episodes of the Teen Junction. We'll promise we'll let you know when it all drops.